This episode is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana is in the business of driving you happy. And with the widest selection of used cars under $20,000, you're bound to find a car that'll put a smile on your face. They even offer customizable financing so you can plan your down and monthly payments. To shop thousands of affordable vehicles 100% online, download the app or visit Carvana.com. Availability may vary by market.
Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Osner. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. Hope you all are having a great summer. Hockey and the informal workouts are actually already underway at MedStar Capitals Iceplex with a lot of guys skating. Training camp is exactly a month away as we record this now. I think the first day of on ice is September 22nd. We are joined by Sports Illustrated Inside Maple Leafs, David Alter, longtime Maple Leafs reporter. We're going to talk some of that 17 playoff series. He obviously was aware of the World Junior and Canada's win, which I'm sure Carl's very happy with. David, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, and not to bring up bad memories, Karl, but you got hurt in that series against the Maple Leafs in 2017. We've talked about this plenty on this podcast, but do you have any positive memories from that series?
just that we won, but otherwise, no. It was brutal. I think it was a Roman Polak wrist shot from just like most harmless wrist shot from the top, and in the playoffs, you don't even think twice about blocking something, and I was just a dummy and decided to bat it down like this instead of maybe using the other side of the glove with all the padding, and it just blew my hand up. It was a displacement fracture, and it literally looked like I had a golf ball indent on the inside of my hand, and I don't even know if you can see it on camera, but it just blew the bones out the back, and it was halfway through the first period. So it was awful. And then it's one of those things where once you have an injury, it's like a magnet. Like I was getting slashed while I was on the bench. I mean, I remember Orlov slashed me one time. He was trying to brace himself from a hit, and the stick came and tomahawked me on top of the hand while I was just sitting there on the bench. And so I only ended up playing the first 2 games of that series, and then sat there and watched the rest. But man, was it unbelievable. I remember thinking, because I got to actually pay attention during games there, the in-game ops in Toronto, especially during the playoffs, were phenomenal. And I think I think Toronto had a new anthem singer that year too, is a younger lady. I think she's still singing now. I hope.
She is, but they are looking for someone new. I think she's not doing it full time anymore because she's also a part-time actor and got some roles. So she's jumping on between both of those. And I remember hearing something about it because the Leafs put out a thing on their Twitter that they're looking for new anthem singer, and so everyone got up in arms. So she had to make some sort of.
Did you audition?
I did not audition. I know you see my karaoke skills, but it's not something I want to do. Reporting / dual role anthem singer. I don't think that would ever be possible, nor would I want to put myself out there.
Yeah, well, Alter, I'm curious because Karl and I are used to like the in-game Capitals kind of like presentation and all that. As an outsider who watches a lot of games in Toronto, and you've been to almost every rink in the league, I'm sure. Where's the Capitals kind of whole kind of presentation fit?
I love it. Like the crowd gets really loud. I love the crowd participation in those games. It's right up there with a lot of them. I like what they do for the pregame. It's very cinematic.
Karl just wishes the one between regulation and overtime was better. But other than that,
yes. Well, I mean, I don't remember what
it's not hyped enough for Karl to get the crowd into it.
No, it's the elevator music soundtrack that just goes.
Oh,
yeah.
No, it depends. Is that like during the playoffs?
Yeah, we're talking playoffs now.
Oh, gotcha. But it's funny, Karl, you were mentioning like Roman Polak, and you getting hurt. Roman Polak got hurt in that series too. I believe it was game 2. I think he blocked the shot or something happened, but he was out right away. And then the Leafs were down to 5 defensemen for that crazy overtime that took, I think it was the longest Leaf overtime in recent memory. It was quite a while.
That wasn't the time when he got hit in the boards and like like tore everything in his leg and
it might have been. I can't remember the exact nature of the injury, but I remember after the game, Mike Babcock was like, "Yeah, he's going to be out for a very long time." And in the playoffs, when there's something like that in someone's way, you're not trying to disclose everything.
yeah.
But there was not even a chance he was going to try to come back in the playoffs and work through all the injuries you guys worked through. So I remember it was pretty severe. I can't remember the exact nature of it, but his career I don't think was the same after that.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty bad leg injury, multiple injuries in the one play. But yeah, I remember that series it was so much fun because there was so much hype in the city of Toronto. The team was like kind of, I think that there was a lot of thought that the Leafs could sneak away with a win in that series. And obviously we didn't think that, but there was definitely that possibility because the team was really starting to catch fire. And what do you guys call it out there? Is it Jurassic Park or is
that's
that
the Raptors thing?
Yeah,
thing?
Yeah. So when the Raptors are playing in that outdoor square outside the arena, it's Jurassic Park, and then
it's Maple Leaf Square. I mean, right? Like it's.
Yeah, Maple Leaf Square is the official name for it, but they would call it Jurassic Park when the Raptors.
The forest. We can call it the forest.
The forest, yeah. And then during the pandemic, it was tough because the Leafs were in the playoffs there, and people wanted to do some sort of viewing party for. Actually, the Raptors were as well for both of those, and they could just never kind of get it going in that regard.
My favorite memory of that series is Wilson's overtime goal and the radio call, obviously, of Tom Wilson of all people. That is my enduring memory of that series.
Yeah, well, Tom Wilson and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, the history goes back. And my favorite thing when 2018, when he won the Cup, he actually brought it to right near where I am right now, like at Yonge and Eglinton in the Midtown area, which is where he kind of grew up. So it's kind of funny, like when you see how much hatred Leaf fans have for him, but then I saw him in the community here, and then people are just loving it. It's so different when you're out there as the hockey player, the person in the community versus the opposition, the guy who's the thorn in everyone's side, like Tom Wilson can be. So it's Tom Wilson, it's interesting because it's not just a Leaf issue. Like he gets under the skin of everybody. There's he's got the issue with the Penguins as well. There,
he's got a little bit of issue with the Rangers and some other teams too.
The Rangers was the big one where he did.
That was the Panarin thing too.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's interesting, but I mean, we talk about the Leafs and what they might be missing. It's guys like Tom Wilson that like a lot of people point to as, there's that skilled, edgy player that maybe someone like that could help the Leafs. They just really haven't had that type of player. And when people look at Toronto's lack of ability to get past the first round, that's the type of player that a lot of people feel that Toronto is missing.
Yeah, it's hard to find them, right? That's why so few teams have them. So when you can scoop one up, you try and scoop them up right away. That's why there's such a high price for Tkachuk, going to Florida. That's why Tom commands what he commands. Josh Anderson, the contract he gets, those guys are just so few and far between, and they typically are a tale of two different people, right, on the ice and off the ice. You get to see it with Tom there, and I think there's a piece or two missing with that team. But I mean, this isn't Caps related at all, but I'm just curious because he's kind of it's an interesting situation, but I'd love to hear your take on John Tavares and what the deal is with him there, and how the contract is shaping up, and what are people the boots on the ground thinking of John Tavares right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, he was the focal point of a lot of criticism, especially toward the end of the season when there wasn't a lot of points being put up. And when anyone's making $11 million and you're a forward, you're expected to put up points. It doesn't matter all of the other two-way and defensive stuff that you're doing. That's going to be a big focal point. So, there was that talk this summer. We had a chance to see him at Mitch Marner's thing, and he was talking about trying to increase his foot speed because he knows he's getting older and he has to adjust and adapt, and it's getting harder and harder as I'm sure you're well known, like as younger guys get in there to try and keep up, it's getting more skilled, it's getting faster. And once you start to hit that early 30s, there's a lot of different things you kind of have to do to kind of stick around, stay with it. And in John Tavares' case, this is going to be a really big year to see if he can still be that dynamic point-producing center. Otherwise, there was that one experiment during the bubble in Game 5 where they threw him up on the wing, and it was ill-fated because they didn't try it at all in the bubble, and they decided, what, Game 5, let's give it a go.
It's like 7 defensemen.
Yeah, there was. It didn't work out well. But, at that point, when you're going to have to start adjusting your game, maybe they try and go on the wing. And no one's from management to said anything, but the Leafs are rich of centers right now. And, you've got Alex Kerfoot. They just brought in Calle Yarncroke. They've got a lot of centers, and David Kampf, who's a shutdown guy, that if needed, maybe that's what they start doing. If all their centers are healthy and they need to get more out of John Tavares, getting him into some shifts on the wing might be the way to go in order to make sure that the Leafs are effective with him, because that is a big contract, and just defending his two-way play and how good he is there is probably not enough for what you're expecting out of an $11 million player.
Yeah, and you're not going to be able to, to move a contract like that most likely.
No.
Someone needs to get to the cap floor, but it's a good point. You can hide a player that has not great foot speed on the wing. They can crash and bang in front, and he's one of the best at just pure goal scoring from top of the circle in. He's not a guy that goes top corner every time. He finds the gap and he knows where to put the puck. So yeah, you get him just in the positions and don't have to worry about getting up and down the ice as much. I think that would help. But another thing that's interesting about foot speed too, like we had a skills coach from BC, John Calvano, on, and he was saying just the difference in ways guys are training now. I remember I was always taught, a nice long, powerful stride is the way to go. And now you watch these guys skate up the ice, and it's crossover, maybe mix in a stride here and there, but the way guys are skating is just so different, and it's hard to reteach that. Once you've kind of been in that groove for so long, and Tavares is kind of that guy too. He's got those, maybe longer, more powerful strides, and not so much the quick side to side like you would see from a McDavid or a Barzal and stuff. So it's hard. Hopefully he can do it, and I think he has a work ethic to do it. But it's a hard transition to make, and if he can't quite get there, I think you're right. Hide him on the wing. Let him kind of stick to his side up and down the ice, and be in front of the net, and get off when you can get off, because it sucks being caught out there when you're already not the most graceful skater, I guess you could say. It's a hard position to be in.
Yeah, and the Leafs spend more than anybody else when it comes to assistants in terms of skills coaches, skating coaches. And, they did have someone named Barb Underhill around for a while who was really helping with that, but she's been gone in the last year. I know she still retains some clients. I'm not sure if she's making clients. But it's just going to be a constant study. You're constantly figuring out what works and what doesn't, and looking at tape and seeing where you kind of gone wrong, and looking for that edge and playing smart instead of playing as hard as you did before, because as you get older, playing smart becomes the most important
I could be wrong, but I think Barb Underhill also worked with New Capitals forward Dylan Strome. We're going to see how kind of his skating holds up in the center on the wing. When we come back on All's Caps, I want to bring up Austin Matthews and kind of maybe him eventually chasing down Alex Ovechkin, some more Capitals and Leafs comparisons, and we'll talk a little World Junior before David Alter becomes the latest victim of Carl's stupid questions a little bit later.
This episode is brought to you by DirecTV Stream. DirecTV Stream is your home for football this season because it's the best way to catch the games you won't want to miss. And with the DirecTV Stream Sports Hub, you can follow your favorite teams and track scores all in one place. That means more ways to follow the biggest hits, drives, and wins this season. So many you may need your own touchdown dance. So get your sports together and get your TV together at DirecTV.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
On a beautiful run through the park on a pleasant day, you can easily get lost.
No! She didn't kill him.
Huh? In your true crime podcast.
It was the pool guy. So obvious.
Whatever motivates you works for us. It's all about letting your run be your run. And Brooks is here for every runner, doing the research and sweating the details to create gear that works for you. It's your run. Brooks, run happy.
Welcome back to All's Caps, former Capitals defenseman and childhood Maple Leafs fan Karl Osner. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Weiner. We're joined by longtime Leafs reporter, now inside Leafs for Sports Illustrated Media Group's David Alter. We'll have a little more kind of Leafs Caps crossover conversation. And the first question, the thing I want to bring up, and I always think out all the time, is the Leafs feel like the Capitals so much to me in the kind of getting to the playoffs, but the Capitals won a playoff round. Like, Karl, you guys won rounds and then got stopped. It was like the Penguins or whatever. The Leafs haven't won anything. And I'm curious from both of your guys' thoughts, what do the Leafs need to do what the Capitals did? That's my vague, basic question.
Yeah, I mean, David, go ahead. You watch them more than I do, so go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about in the previous segment with someone like a Tom Wilson. Like, I don't think they have enough skilled assholes on this team. Like, I really think that's like the one thing that's missing. It looks like they've got a lot of other pieces. This Calle Jarnkrok player looks like a player that they haven't really had, that they've committed to for a long time. That could be that guy, but again, that's kind of going to be in a bit of a middle six role. So it's tough to say, but. Yeah, I mean, killer instinct is the cliche word that everyone keeps talking about with the Maple Leafs, that they try to do everything and they get everything done, but then when it comes down to that final moment, for one reason or another, they can't get the job done. And, you know, a lot of slack was taken off them this year because it was the Lightning and, you know, they had some bad penalty calls, and then, you know, Austin Matthews, you know, game 6 of overtime hits the post. There's so many different things that were like, that close to actually changing their fate, and they didn't get the job done. But that, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, they just didn't get the job done, and I think a lot of people kind of seem too okay with it. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to make them angry enough to kind of get over the hump. Against Montreal, they really should have been angry enough, but they didn't get the job done, and so. I think it's the personnel in terms of getting those type of players that we mentioned before as what they need. And I don't know if they have enough of that to get over the hump.
Yeah. My thoughts on it are this. I've talked to a lot of guys about what the difference is. You know, you have had good teams for lots of years. What's the difference between those years and the year that you win? And what I keep hearing is matchups. They get the right matchup, you know, instead of having to play Tampa, you get to play a team that they just always feel good against, you know, like for me, while I was with the Caps, it was Tampa. I loved playing Tampa, and we all did. We thought it was awesome, and we won almost every single time we played them. So, you know, you get that matchup, that's great. The other thing is for sure puck luck. They say that all the time. They're like, we got bounces where we normally wouldn't. We didn't hit those post and out. It was post and in. And that's not a whole lot you can really do, right? But then the other thing is having obviously your top players be the best. Everyone said Ovi, Kuzi, the best they had ever seen them play in the playoffs those 2 years. And that's on those top guys, right? Having them get to that next level. I saw Sid do it to us many, many years. He takes it to a different level. And when you're the best player in the world, then no one else can match you. So I think that's huge. But also like secondary scoring. You know, Devontae Smith-Pelly, how many goals did he have in the Caps run?
Seven goals.
Wow.
7 goals, right? Then you have a guy like Lars Eller, you know, these guys that are playing third and fourth line minutes that find a way to get to a different level. They become second line players, you know. And when you can have a lineup full of second line or better players, or at least playing that way, that's what gets you there. And right, and so I'd say half of it is on the players and half of it is on just, you know, matchup and bounces. So it's hard to get them to marry, but once they do, then you get there. But I think that the Leafs to me seem like a team, you know, Wino, like you said, like the Caps, they just need to taste the second round. And then it'll be like just a renewed sense of excitement. You know, it's like, holy smokes, we did it. Now we can win. That's what it seems to be like, you know, and you still have 3 more rounds versus with the Caps having to only go 2 more rounds. But still, sometimes that's all you need when you have as many good players as they do.
There's been so much playoff disappointment, and we talked about
but we were used to that. Like that was what DC was like for so long. But I think the anger always stayed, and the organization was willing to like change over GM, change over coach, and there hasn't been those kind of changes in Toronto, which I think from the outside is where we're looking like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, well, and look, after what happened in Montreal when they were heavily favored and there was really no excuse for them to lose that series, and they did, there was a lot of criticism to the point where myself included thought there were going to be no excuses, even against Tampa, that you either get it done or there's got to be some sort of change, and it didn't.
Well, they found excuses.
And that to me is probably the most concerning thing, because I don't know if there's enough of an edge, because if you feel like, okay, we've got to get it done. One other takeaway, I remember Bob McKenzie talking on radio during the season when the Leafs were struggling against some of the teams at the bottom of the standings, like Buffalo and Montreal. And he mentioned that there was a team meeting with the leadership group, that they wanted to bring these concerns to them. And they really kind of shrugged it off and said, don't worry, when it comes time to deliver, we will. And they didn't. Yeah. And so I mean, that's how do you as a coach and as a management team discipline that? I don't know. And that to me is the biggest concern with what's happening right now, because if you're just going to go like this, it could be the Caps. They could finally do it, but the opposite could happen as well. And for a team that hasn't really won anything since '67, the fan base and multi-generations, it's tough not to be jaded in that regard. But the younger fans seem to be okay with what happened, and that's what I'm kind of still scratching my head around.
Yeah, real quick, I want to get to World Junior, but I want to ask, we're all talking about Alex Ovechkin chasing down Wayne Gretzky. How many goals does he have to score so that Austin Matthews doesn't catch him eventually? Like, is 895 enough? Because can Austin Matthews get to 896?
Look, so Austin Matthews has had some injury issues already, right? Wrist stuff, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Alex has had stuff going on with his back, but nothing has ever been, surgery worthy, right? It's always just kind of been some wear and tear, and I mean he's a big guy, and that happens. For what Ovi's his consistency, I think Matthews has that for a long time, but Ovi's barely missed any games. He's had to deal with some lockouts and COVID and stuff like that, same as Matthews. So he's had that, but like to stay that healthy and that consistent is extremely hard to do. That would be my only worry with Matthews, not being able to get there. I think he's a good enough goal scorer to get there, absolutely. But it's just so hard to be able to do that over that long of a stretch. And maybe he has that desire to get there. Maybe he needs to get to 500 goals to really be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna play as long as I can to get there. But the body's got to agree with you. So I think just being able to beat Gretzky is pretty damn good. So it's hard to say, but that'd be my thing, is I'm not sure he's going to be able to stay healthy enough.
Well, look, I didn't think that Ovechkin was going to come anywhere near those records earlier in his career. I mean, he missed the first chance to play in the NHL due to the lockout. There were a lot of things going up against him as well. And then the game changed in his favor. That's really what happened, right? Like the game kind of changed right after that.
Power play goals,
it allowed, and it allowed for someone like that to excel. And so, I mean, with Austin Matthews, it's going to matter on his health, but it's also going to matter how both he and the game develops between now and then, because as we've seen now, 15 years in the NHL, the game can change so much. So many different things can be a focal point that either opens it up or closes it down. And I think that's really the real wild card in all of this.
We also know how long he wants to play.
Yeah, how long he wants to play, but also I'd say his game is evolving. Also, he's not just a pure goal scorer. Like Ovi is just a pure goal scorer, but Matthews, I think his game is a little bit more well-rounded now too, with the way he's playing defense. He's putting a little bit more emphasis on being back there, and it's hard to get up and down the ice and then think about scoring goals too. So it depends on what the team's going to ask of him. I think he has a bigger role in that sense than Ovi does. He's relied on a little bit more to do the all-around game, so that might end up slowing him down at some point too. But I think hopefully for all of our sake, I hope he continues to score, because it's fun to watch whenever anyone can hunt down a record. I think it's fun to watch, and of all the players playing right now, he's definitely the guy that push for it.
For sure.
That for
Yeah, no,
Go
I
ahead.
was just say one quick thing. You paying attention to the World Juniors, Alter. Canada wins on the crazy save by Mason McTavish, and as we were talking about a little off the air, that was a Leafs prospect, of course, who was going to score the goal. Just your guys' thoughts on Canada winning a World Junior gold in the middle of August.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the middle of August, it was painful to watch these games with no fans in there, and it just the fact that it was summer games, it kind of reminded me of the pandemic and why it was happening, and with everything going on with Hockey Canada, it just kind of felt like a why is this happening kind of tournament for the first weekend or so. But it got exciting in the knockout games, as these things usually do, and Canada had established. I felt good for Dave Cameron because he was part of that 2011 team that really had that disappointment in Buffalo when they were up 3-0 and ended up losing 5-3. So, I mean, it was nice little redemption for them and for him. But as far as the Leaf prospects go, I mean, look, there was Matthew Nyes, there was a couple of Finnish guys, and Topi Niemela, who was the guy who thought he was going to have the game-winning goal there, having it taken away by Mason McTavish. It was still that goal is forever going to be the reason why we talk about that tournament. And I guess if there was any justification for why that tournament happened, it was that goal, because no one can still believe how Mason McTavish was able to twice keep that puck away from crossing the line.
Yeah, that was wild. That'll be talked about more than the goal itself. That's going to kind of take over the tournament, in my opinion. That's just to be able to be in the position and to actually make the play, like it's insane. But yeah, I agree with you. The tournament was weird. I had it on in the background of the house a lot, but it just didn't have the right feeling. No one really wants to watch where it's too warm outside. It's not all that interesting. So I thought it was okay, but what was interesting is just to see some of the players out there, right? It was like this one guy, Logan Stankoven, one of the Canadians. I think he's a Western Canadian guy as well. And he looked so good. So it just that's what I like the most, is seeing where the prospects are and some of the talent. It was upsetting that the U.S. didn't get into at least the semis there to push for it, and not having Russia too. It was all around. It was just a weird tournament, but a gold's a gold, and I'm definitely happy that I got on that. But yeah, it's just didn't have the same feel.
And a couple.
Yeah, it'll be one of those things where we'll remember it for the goal, I think, at that point. And that's really what this was about, right? Getting it in for those guys, getting the tournament in, not having the skip of a year. And I guess money kind of dictates it too, because they did have a good attendance for that final game. If Canada did not advance or didn't get to that final, I think the tournament would have been a disaster for the city of Edmonton. But they managed to get something of it, and I'm just glad that proper regular season hockey is around the corner since September.
Yeah, it's hard enough trying to talk hockey in August, but watching hockey in August is a whole different thing. When we come back on All's Caps, David Alter will be the latest victim of Carl's stupid questions.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. There are some monthly expenses you just can't get away from, like insurance. You might be looking at your expenses thinking you're going to have to pause on your DIY project, stop collecting vinyl, or even give up your daily coffee fix to have great insurance. Talk about a nightmare. It's a good thing State Farm knows everyone has a budget, and they have a range of options, like insuring your ride and your home with surprisingly great rates on both. With State Farm, you can also personalize your policy, so you get the coverage you need at a price that lets you keep up with your projects, add to your vinyl collection, and continue to enjoy your coffee habits. So forget about giving up what you love to have great insurance. For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alter and inside Maple Leafs, David Alter. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wynot, and now Alter gets to be the latest victim of Carl's stupid questions.
Yes. Okay, I got my 6 questions here. A couple repeats because I kind of like them, and I'm curious how everybody else feels about them as well. But my first one for you is if you could time travel to any time, it could be past or it could be in the future. Well, when do you think you would go?
I would go to the future only because I'm such a huge tech nerd. And as much as people hate tech and being attentive to all that kind of stuff, I feel like I was always behind when it came to learning new things. And I'm learning more now by watching YouTube because it's a better visual experience for me than when I went to school and I had to learn anything through a textbook or through anything of that nature. Just having that visual ability to learn, and then if virtual reality becomes a ubiquitous thing in 10 years where you can just pop on a headset and be doing what you were doing on the ice, or replicating that experience, to be able to learn that way is something I love. And for that reason alone, I find that as I get older, I'm actually evolving and learning new things because of the way technology is going, that I wish I could be 10 or 20 years more advanced based on that.
And you know what? It's actually it's a great answer, because I've been thinking about this a lot with school actually starting up today for our two older kids, and listening to people say, like, the kids have all this stimulation all day long, however they want, iPads, TV, just the way the billboards are and stuff like that, and then they go into class and they sit there and they read textbooks, or they see on a chalkboard, dry erase board, and that's how they're learning. It's like they're going from up here all day long, and then they got to go to class, and it's brought back down there. It's like, this is the world that we live in now, like we got to start teaching that way, and the kids are going to learn, way different. And I think way more, but that's that's a different conversation. But anyways, it was a perfect answer. That hits home. Bonus points for that one. So great work. Okay, being in Canada, this is nice. A hockey saying that you just hate, something that frustrates you, the way maybe some Americans say certain things.
Oh,
or
you know what?
You hear.
So I played hockey at a AA level, not nearly anywhere near you did, but like I was a goalie and I hated a lot of hockey slang. And I think goalies kind of feel like they're different members on the team where they don't necessarily join in on the same stuff. And I never liked the term "selly," and like all the hockey forms with E's at the end of stuff. I never could get into it. I've never had a real hockey nickname for that reason, or nothing that really stuck except for like alts. But like other than that, yeah, like I love everything about the game, but the sellies that people use, or the short forms, I just shake my head to it, and I just don't know why it's always the same everywhere, and how people don't think it's corny. I really don't understand how that just kind of stuck around. Even in multiple decades and generations, it's still there. And I don't know. I don't know why. I shouldn't dislike it as much as I do, but for some reason, I just shake my head at it.
That's the second answer of Selly as the answer to this, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I mean, fair enough. I get that. We have a very similar last name, so I was in a similar boat as you with. It was tough to find a good nickname. I had all.
No one's calling you Alsney.
We had all Z, no N, but actually, you know what? Growing up, my name was always Al. Everyone just called me Al all the time.
Perfect.
And so I kind of liked it, and then it just disappeared come junior. So it's I understand that. Sally, I could see it. It's a bit weird, but it's also classic. It's our own language.
It is classic. That's why it will always be forever there, and I just kind of have to learn to live with it.
Yeah. All right. Next one here. This one's been bugging me because I was sitting on hold for a while with Apple a couple days ago. So, would you sit in traffic or sit waiting on hold?
Sit on hold, just because I could just pop on the Bluetooth headphones and walk around the place and do other things while I'm waiting. Where in the car, you're just kind of stuck. And I mean, you can kind of do that illegally, like in terms of like you're supposed to keep your eyes on the road, so you can't really do anything else. But at least when you're at home, you can, I popped on the toaster. I've done some other things. I put other audio on. I've found ways to just kind of notify myself and just kind of try to be productive. Whatever you can do to be productive while you have to deal with the annoyance. And to me, that's when you're at home, at least you could pop on the Bluetooth headphones and walk around. So that's my answer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you're stuck in traffic, there's nothing else. You can't get out of it.
Yeah.
If you're on hold, you can at least be moving around doing stuff. So I would say that is the bonus there.
How long were you on hold the other day?
I've been on hold multiple times for over 30 minutes trying to figure some stuff out. And 30 minutes isn't that bad. But I can't remember if we talked about this on here, but the time when I was dealing with my Apple TV and it took 2 hours for us to figure out what the issue was.
See, that's unacceptable.
That was
my problem with my Apple TV is it makes my TV flicker. I don't know if that was your issue.
Oh, no, that's not my issue.
No, it had to do with the high dynamic range. My TV didn't like the video setting of the Apple TV, but it's still every now and then it makes the image flicker for half a second. It's really annoying. So I use a different set-top box to watch whatever.
Oh, geez. Mine was that our Harry Potter downloads were hidden for some reason. I'm not sure how it happened, but it said that we had purchased them, but we could not download them. And so it was just, you couldn't repurchase it, nothing. They were just on our account.
They may have lost the rights to it.
They finally figured it out where they said that they just needed to unlock this folder, and it was 2 hours of them messing around with that. But anyways, okay, next question here is because I'm on a diet right now, which is awesome. Trying to fit into my suits come hockey season here. So no desserts, but I'm curious, what's your favorite dessert?
Oh, you know what? I grew up in a very European household where a lot of the traditional stuff was not available. So when I would go to a friend's house or birthday parties, traditional yellow birthday cake, that vanilla icing, yellow dough, perfect. I love it. My parents are like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, I'm serious. I just love that traditional taste. When I was a kid, I had a McDonald's birthday party when they still used to do those, and the McDonald's birthday cake was amazing. So at least in Canada, I don't know if it was
I don't remember McDonald's having a birthday cake.
Yeah, in Canada they used to have it had a Ronald McDonald's face on it, and like in the middle with white icing and the yellow dough, and it was like perfect. Traditional, old school. I guess Betty Crocker, whatever you call it in the States, yellow cake, the birthday cake, is perfect.
I love that. I think that hits home probably for a lot of people, hey?
It's perfect.
And if anyone in the U.S. has had a Ronald McDonald birthday cake, please send us pictures, tweet us about this, because this is a whole revelation for me.
It was 30 years. It was like 33 years ago. So.
Yeah, well, there better be a Polaroid somewhere.
I don't know. I'll find something. I'll ask my folks.
Oh, so good. All right, this question is in honor of the season premiere of House of Dragons yesterday. I don't know if either of you guys watched it, the spinoff of Game of Thrones. But what would you say is your favorite TV series?
There's so many. It all depends on, everyone's probably going to say The Office. That's probably what I've watched the most in terms of favorite. But I have so many different ones that I have a different hobby of. I love Curb. I'm a huge Curb fan, just because so much of the silliness you see there, I feel now is the most relatable conversation you have with any random stranger ever. Just like the random situations that come up there are what comes up in every day. So I think Curb Your Enthusiasm is probably my new favorite now. I'd say The Office was there. I loved 24 growing up. It was such a brand new show when it came out, that kind of every hour was an episode in real time. I love the concept. There's just so many that were like, this is my new favorite. This is my new favorite. And it all just depends on mood. There's just so many good ones out there.
And that's in 24. Is that Jack Bauer? Is that the?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say he's got to go down as one of the top whether it's TV series or movie characters, just like all around human. He always laughed listening to him, and he could.
Whenever he yelled at you, yelled "damn it," or yelled at you to open the gate, that person was going to open up the gate. It was just so intimidating. So, but it was great. It was like right when I was starting university or college, and it came out at the right time, and it was such a it was the first TV show that felt like a movie that I ever watched. All the other TV shows felt like they were made for TV. This felt like this was shot like a movie that just happened to be on TV in 2001. That was very revolutionary.
Yes, yeah, it was good. And what, I can't remember her name now. Dion Phaneuf's wife,
Alicia Cuthbert.
Cuthbert. Yeah, she was big in that too.
Yeah.
There you go, a little Toronto Maple Leaf tie in there. Okay, last question for you here. So maybe think about it this morning, because my one kid had a bagel, the other one had a waffle sandwich. What's your ideal breakfast sandwich vessel? So I don't know. You said you listened to one of the podcasts. I don't think I had asked this question the last one, but your options, unless you have different options, are bread, English muffin, bagel, croissant, biscuit, or wrap tortilla.
Wow.
Why not?
Waffle will be fine, yeah.
I forgot that there's 6 different carbo options.
There might be 8.
You can let us wrap it too if you'd like.
You can do it on a donut too if you really wanted to.
To me, if it's a bagel, it's got to be a Montreal bagel. Like, they are the best bagels out there, known to man, and I do love Montreal bagels. So if a Montreal bagel is available, that is number 1 to me. Croissant is a close second. Those are the 2. The other stuff, I've never been a breakfast sandwich person. I know at our local coffee shops that they're very popular for people to get in the morning, but I can't do it. Croissant is just great, just because it's soft. But yeah, the Montreal bagels, the sweet taste of that Montreal, like the water that they use in there is from the ocean, and or from the St. Lawrence or whatever. And for some reason, the bagels taste better. There's actually a place in Toronto that makes them near me. That actually brings in the water from Montreal to make sure they taste the same, and it's incredible. So, Montreal bagel for the win, number 1 for me.
Wait, you're a big New York guy too. Where do you rank Montreal bagels and New York bagels?
New York bagels are good, but they're not. They don't quite have the same. I love. It's identical, but they don't have the same thing for bagels like Montreal does. But that's where New York rocks it in pizza, because they use that same dough processing for their pizza, and that's why New York pizza is number 1 to me. But yeah, I haven't really had enough New York bagels, like more than a couple times. I'm sure it's gotten better, but I got to get back to New York, and when I do for the next Leaf trip, I'm going to make sure I have some New York bagels on your behalf.
No one's more jealous when I'm in New York than you.
Well, the vice versa. You're there now.
I was. I did spend two separate trips to New York in the past week and a half.
According to my Instagram timeline, you were there. So.
Yes.
Well, I'd say I'd want to drink the water from the St. Lawrence just about as much as I'd want to drink the water from the Potomac. It's not something I really enjoy doing.
Well, they filter it, I guess, but I don't know what it is, but there's something about the piping, and like the reason why those taste the way they do is because of where the water comes from. It's why when people try to replicate New York pizza somewhere else, it just doesn't work, because it's not the same water that they use to start the dough process.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Makes sense. I hear that's big in whiskey making as well. But quick funny bagel story is I had my buddies come out and visit when we were playing in New York one year, and I didn't have enough time to do this, but I wanted these specific bagels from this place in Brooklyn. So I asked them before they left, because they were going to drive from New York to DC. Before you guys leave, do you mind just stopping in? You got to get there probably fairly early and grab me a half dozen or a dozen of these bagels, whatever you can get. So they said, yeah, no problem. They ended up staying out till 4 a.m. and they barely made it in time to get these bagels for me, put them in the car, showed up at the house, and they go to open up the trunk, and the bagels are literally everywhere in the trunk. They just put the open, they were so hungover. They just put the bag down, so it flew over, and they all had fuzz from the back of the trunk in them. And I think of the dozen bagels, 4 or 5 survived, and they lost all the toppings and stuff. So I still have to get back.
You can defuzz clothes. I don't think you can defuzz a bagel.
No, it's not the same. No, I don't like the fuzzy flavor. Okay. All right. That's 6. Let me quickly tally you up here. I like that. Your answer with the bagel or croissant. It's nice. Although I do think breakfast sandwiches, bagels are more just a spread versus toppings in there. But croissant's really nice. Curb is hilarious. Good job, yellow birthday cake. Hold, Sally. But the perfect answer to question number 1 with future, that really kicks it into high gear right there. And it's going to bump you up to 232 points. Which
that's really high up.
It gets you really high. Yeah, it just passes John Calvano, which we just had recently, who was up there, and I think it puts you into the top 5.
It's at least top 5. This might be top 3.
This is S tier. So
yes.
You know what? In that case, I need to see an S tier graph with all the scores, and
we just need to update the standings. Here, there's Carl's got the board.
Anyone can read that, but I'll put you in there, and I'll start to order them a little bit, because it's starting to get a little messy here. There's a lot of players that are in the 100-point range, so you're definitely an elite company, better than what the Leafs have done.
I try to excel and try to be critical when I need to be critical, and like that's why, you know what, I could have gone for the score, but I knew Sully was going to bring me down in that. But I wasn't about going for the win. I was going about being for honesty here. So,
well, Alter's winning more playoff series than the Leafs already, at least in the last two decades. Thanks for joining us, Karl. I'm sure we're gonna talk to some folks later this week some more. When the Capitals get to training camp, we got to go over this list and make a real standings too, right? At some point when we actually list this 1 to however many guests we've had who've done this and figure out who's actually the worst at this.
Oh yeah, I'll turn it into a whole Top Gear ranking system, and everyone will have their spot in history. It'll be good.
Yes. Well, Alter, thanks for joining us. Everybody, thanks for listening to us on Allscaps, and we'll talk to you next week.